Hello, brethren. My name is Jide Afolabi. By the grace of God, I'm the missions coordinator for the RCCG, the King's Palace. I've had the privilege of being involved in a number of the foreign mission outreaches in the past few years here in this church. Um, you know, from the moment that by the leading of the Holy Spirit that a decision is made to have a foreign outreach mission in a particular city or island or nation or whatever it is, from that point on, planning and strategizing for that mission outreach becomes a very important next step for the church. And this is where, by the grace of God, myself and my brethren have been playing a very active part. I just want to share with you a few nuggets around the planning and strategies for those outreach missions. The most important thing that you have to bear in mind is this is a spiritual effort. It's a very, very spiritual enterprise. And there are enablers and there are also significant movement to constrain the success of that outreach. So it's important to pray. So you got to pray, you got to establish a prayer group supporting that whole planning and execution as you go along. That's the first and the most important thing. The other thing that's always important is wherever you're going for that missions outreach, it's important to establish a host or some collaborators on the ground. They know the terrain, they know the regulatory requirements, they know when people are on holiday, who's available, and things like that. So it's important to strategically establish that. So you have as collaborators on the ground, so you are able to then do spiritual mapping and some of the needs of that nation or city. Very important because they form a good basis for you to kind of define your objectives and what activities to make as part of that outreach. So then you, of course, select dates and scope of the outreach. By that I mean, sometimes because you need maybe youths, you don't want to put it right in the middle of when they are doing exams or all that. So you kind of look at holiday period, you look at what opportunities there are. So you establish a date that works for both the host and the people on the ground and, of course, the mission team itself. Then in terms of scope, depending on the mapping that you have done, a decision can then be made on the key activities that constitute that outreach. For instance, you might want to, planting the church might be part of that whole scope. For us at King's Palace, our going-in position is to look at our key ministry approaches here in terms of soccer, sports, health outreaches, welfare, crusade, drama, movies. We go in trying to test whether those ones will work, and with the host, of course, a scope is agreed. So once you have the data and the scope agreed, it's important to also understand the regulatory and the immigration requirements and restrictions for that particular country, if it's a foreign country. Some countries have all manners of rules, especially, with this COVID, for instance, you also need to know how long you need to apply for visas and what requirements there are to enter the country and things like that. So that's also a very important thing to know quickly up front. Then on your side, in the missions team and on the ground in the host country or city, it's important to engage professionals, preferably Christian brethren as well who are professional, like doctors, like, soccer coaches and, all manners of professionals that need to come into play there. It's important to get them to make inputs. Of course, it's also then, once you start that plan, you develop a checklist of actions, target dates, action parties, so you can track your progress towards the foreign outreach day. Then you are able to develop a budget from that point. It's very important, of course, to do your sums understand what the budgetary outlook is like, and then you try to raise support and fund, and prayerfully brethren will come forth and support you. Is the experience we've had by God's grace. Now, it's important to ship mission materials very early. If you are shipping things from the U.S., for instance, to another country, you have to look at the duration of shipment and the formalities around that. So you need to do that very, very early, and don't leave it too late. Also, in terms of regulatory compliance, visa application, it's important to do that very, very early. There are letters and things that need to be written to government authorities and all of that. Then once you have all that set, it's critical, of course, to meet frequently with a core group within the mission team and with the host collaborators on the ground to track your action items so that you ensure that you remain on track. Then, of course, it's important that when you're making assumptions about what will happen on the ground, that you also test some of those operational or execution details. Right? I mean, what size of bus are we getting? Will it take so many people? Where is the hotel? Who's going to distribute flyers? Are you using radio? In how many people do you have? You need to test that as well to be comfortable that the people on ground have the experience, the wherewithal to make sure that you have a smooth execution of the outreach on the ground. Then it's also important to assign roles to mission team members that are going, so that people will be fulfilled, and as God leads them, they can contribute to the mission outreach. Those are key nuggets I want to share with you. There are a number of other things, of course, but those are key things that I just like to share for anyone placed in a position to plan for foreign mission outreaches like this. Most importantly, don't forget, it's pray, pray, and pray. God bless you.